Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we are checking out the brand new Force Feedback Base, the AB9 from Moza. That's right, Moza Racing is stepping into the flight simulation world and they are coming in with quite the bang. Keep in mind, everything that you're about to see in this video is subject to change as the product itself is still in development and under testing, but we were given an early access preview of the product and I figured it was time to share some of my thoughts with you guys thus far. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below.
Overkill simulations, watch us as we fly. Overkill simulations, the thrill will never die.
All right, so as you guys get started with my video here, you get to check out the unboxing and see how everything was packaged. It was packaged up very, very nicely, as you would expect from something from a company like Moza. Right off the bat, you guys, I'm going to tell you this box is really heavy. And when I say really, it's obviously relative, but for a base, it is extremely heavy. Now, the one thing that I'm going to tell you guys right now, and you guys are actually going to get to see a comparison here in a little bit, is this thing is massive in comparison to any other base that you could have. For example, you guys will see the comparison to the Virpil CM3 base here in just a minute. But I was really pleased with the aesthetics of this device, the overall packaging. It was very nice, very secure. It was like one of those situations where you feel like you're unboxing a piece of gold, and that just might be what Moza is going to have here by the time this is all said and done. One of the things that I was really, as silly as it sounds, surprised by was that it came with essentially a dust cover is what I'm using, the nice packaging bag that comes with it. And you guys are going to see me withdraw that here in just a minute. It has an independent proprietary power cable though, so I will tell you guys, be careful. It looks like a 9-pin connector or 8-pin connector, much like what you would see on the power supply for your PC. The dust cover is a really big deal to me. I live in Tucson, Arizona, you guys, so it does not matter what you do. Everything becomes dusty, and it becomes dusty within a matter of seconds. Here we are withdrawing the golden piece itself. There it is, you guys. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Just kidding. Just kidding. So let's go ahead and finally unveil this thing. This thing is absolutely cooler than I was expecting, to be quite frank. Again, talking about the weight, you guys, it was very heavy. I was really impressed by the weight of it, because for me, in this particular scenario, weight is going to account to a lot of what is inside of it. Obviously, full metal motors and things like that are all inside of it. But what I really enjoyed was the leather boot on top. I don't know why, but they really sort of found a way to incorporate their racing line into the flight simulation line. Because from here, you would think it was a stick shift. I mean, let's just call it. That's what it looks like. But it is very nice. But look at the size of this thing in comparison to my hands, you guys. And I have very large hands, you guys. Very large hands. There's all the different peripheral connection points. So if you had rudder pedals, etc., throttle, they could all plug directly into the one base, providing a single point of connectivity. Again, it has its own power supply and a single USB data port. It's USB 2.0 for those of you who might be interested in that. So let's go ahead and get into the comparison that we were talking about earlier, so you can start seeing it configured. So there it is. Look at the size of this thing, guys. Now we are using, by the way, the Thrustmaster F18 Hornet grip on this thing. I believe in this particular video, or the screenshot, what you guys are going to see is the Mongoose 2 that was in that was from Virpil. The software is very nice, very nicely laid out. Everything is broken down into specific categories that can be easily identified. It's got 3 different modes, but for today we're going to only be using force feedback telemetry, so I'm not going to talk about the others just yet until those become available. But you have everything from access travel, access force, centering force, and then all of your different haptic feedbacks as well. that you can customize and adjust not only to a particular simulator, but also, for example, in our case, a particular aircraft. So I really like the way they did that. And you guys will see more of what those profiles look like when we get into the DCS world. Getting into the sim itself immediately. What I'm using here is a preset that was sent to me by Moza for the Cessna 172. However, for the most part, I really don't like the C-172 in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I am using the JP Logistics Cessna 152. Obviously, you're going to get similar performance, not quite the same, but yeah, they're close enough aircraft where I felt comfortable. The force feedback was absolutely fantastic right out of the gate, so let's talk about some of the things that happened. First off, you have stick forwarding or yoke forwarding as the aircraft is at very low speed and on the ground, meaning that the yoke will be pulled forward slightly. And then as you start to speed the aircraft up, I felt that forward motion come back and basically create that force of wanting to pull the yoke back on the in the sim. You have the engine vibration sounds, which were done very, very good in this particular preset, you guys. So it had a nice, smooth, and very authentic feeling vibration that was consistent with the engine power output. So as you increase the engine or increased engine RPMs, or excuse me, increased or decreased engine RPMs, you would feel that vibration change inside of the flight stick. But it wasn't overwhelming like some do. That haptic feedback wasn't too much. It wasn't. Now you could obviously tune this. This is something that all these things are customizable, by the way, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But the haptic feedback that they generated with the motors was very. In this particular preset was very nice. It felt very realistic. It wasn't overpowering. It wasn't too much, if that makes sense. Now, speaking to the customization, as I said before, you can customize everything from the centering force to the friction force to the force feedback overall given from the simulator. The haptic feedback that we talked about, you can actually set the engine ranges, meaning that you can set the vibration that you'll feel at both low RPM and high RPM. You can change the curvature in which that RPM is, or that haptic feedback is delivered, or force feedback is delivered. Now, the one thing that I will say, as far as I got into some turbulent situations, now keep in mind, I want to remind everyone that both the software and the firmware are still in active development right now, so please take that in consideration. But yes, I did receive some force feedback and haptic feedback based on turbulence and any kind of effect that was happening against the flight control surfaces, but it wasn't quite what I was hoping to see. But again, they are still in development. That is to be expected. I was given the heads up on that right out of the gate. But everything else thus far with this particular entry into flight simulation from Moza has been a wonderful experience. The setup process is seamless. There wasn't any configuration that I had to do with inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I didn't have to do a damn thing to it. Simply just loaded up the software, loaded up the sim, and we were ready to fly. Obviously, you need to configure your axis inside the sim. That's still a requirement. Doesn't matter what kind of yoke or joystick or flight stick, whatever it wants to be. You're still going to have to configure your axis to tell the sim what they're doing. But everything else was plug and play. Again, launch the software, tweak it, tune it how you want. The tuning of the software, that's the other thing I really enjoyed. And this is typical, right? They're all like this, but it was also very nice that you were able to change the settings on the fly, and those settings would apply immediately. So it made it very easy to sort of tune and tweak it as you go if you were creating your own custom profile, which I was playing around with a little bit just to get the feel for it. And again, speaking back to the software again one more time, one of the other things is they also have it broken down into propeller aircraft, jet aircraft, and helicopters. So it's also going to make that a little bit easier when it comes time to tweak your own custom profiles and create your own presets to identify which section that you really want to be playing with that's actually going to the most adequately impact the aircraft that you're wanting to fly. So as far as the overall experience from start to finish, it has been stellar thus far. I'm really impressed with Moza, and I'm really impressed with the development that they are doing with it. They seem to be putting a lot of detail and a lot of time into creating this, and I really applaud them for that. This isn't something that seems to be just thrown together. It doesn't seem like they're just saying, hey, if we can do it for racing, we can do it for flight sim. They're putting a lot of effort. I've had this for about a month now. And I've been staying under the lid for a while because I wanted to see what the development cycle was like, what was the update cycle like, what was the significance in the changes of the firmware and both the software as time went forward. And so far, I will tell you guys that I have had 4 releases of the software, 3 updates to the firmware, and each single one was a massive improvement from the one prior, whether that be a smoothing out of the overall feeling and operation of the base, or whether it be compatibility. For example, this last release is one where they gave me the compatibility with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Everything else I had been testing in either X-Plane or DCS World, which DCS World will be the next one that I showcase. I'm going to do that video separately. We'll do that in probably a couple weeks. It is already up and running very nicely. They've done a really good job, especially inside DCS World. I will tell you guys, for DCS pilots who are listening, it's a game changer. And the thing that is the game changer the most about this is of all the flight sticks that I have used thus far, you guys, and that is Virpil, that is Thrustmaster, that is VKB. So far, when it comes to precision and smoothness through the range of motion, this one takes it by far. And that's saying something. You guys know how much I love my Virpils, especially. My Virpil CM3 base is absolutely fantastic. And if you're not looking for force feedback, it is absolutely my go-to. I will never, ever change my opinion on that unless something, you know, like Armageddon happens. So with that being said, if you're going for force feedback, if you want that little feature included there, then I will say this is superior to Virpil in its precision and operation through the ranges of motion in the axis. Doing things like, for example, flying in formation or air-to-air refueling is significantly easier because, again, you get some of that force feedback. You can sort of feel what the aircraft is doing. And then secondly, it's so smooth from full left, full right, full aft, full forward. It doesn't matter. I mean, whatever action you need it to make, you're getting zero resistance. The other thing that I really like is you can adjust that range of motion, as we talked about. You can adjust the range at which the stick is going to move, even here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you wanted, like, for example, if you guys have been watching, my hand hasn't been moving a whole lot, right? If I wanted to, inside the software, I can increase that curvature just like you would inside the sim. So I can create a curvature that would require more input in the physical stick in order to get the behavior you wanted. So if you guys like that larger range of motion, it's going to be really fantastic. The next one that we'll be testing is helicopters, because I think this is going to be absolutely fantastic for helicopters because of that incredible precision. So guys, make sure that you guys check out the link in the description below. This thing is available for pre-sale, and it is, I'm giving them my thumbs up so far, you guys. So far, they get absolutely 2 thumbs up. I have 0 complaints. The development cycle is very rapid. They're pushing things out. They're adjusting it based on the feedback that they are being given. The response time of the support team seems to be great. Now, obviously, I'm a reviewer, so I get a little bit more treatment. I get that. But let me know what you guys think. As always, folks, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.